Today, I want to discuss a question humanity has been asking for thousands of years. Is there life beyond Earth? And if there is, what does it look like? Could it have visited us? Will we ever be able to reach it? I know there are many question marks in our minds about this topic. So if you're ready, without wasting any time, let's begin. For many years, numerous scientists and researchers have explained why things like UFOs are not supported by evidence. But here's the issue. People often confuse believing in UFOs with believing that life could exist somewhere in space. If you ask for my personal opinion, I think there's a strong possibility that microscopic life forms exist somewhere beyond Earth, on other planets or their moons. In fact, I believe that in the not-so-distant future, we may discover traces of life on Mars or perhaps on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. And I also think the probability of intelligent life existing elsewhere in the universe is quite high. What concerns me is when people go beyond saying extraterrestrial life might exist and start claiming that aliens have definitely come to Earth, secretly observed us, and interacted with humanity. Up until today, not a single objective piece of evidence has been produced to prove these claims. You can show blurry photographs, mysterious videos, or unidentified flying objects all you want. None of these have convinced the scientific community that aliens have visited Earth. Of course, you are free to believe whatever you want, but the scientific position is different. So why don't scientists think aliens have visited us? The biggest reason is the lack of evidence. But there are also many theoretical problems. First of all, the distances in space are unimaginably large. So large that the human mind struggles to truly comprehend them. Even the fastest spacecraft humanity has ever built, the Parker Solar Probe, can only travel at about 0.05% of the speed of light. At that speed, reaching Alpha Centauri, the closest star system to us, would take around 9,000 years. Think about that for a moment. 9,000 years ago, humanity had only just begun developing agriculture. The Egyptian pyramids didn't even exist yet. And reaching Alpha Centauri doesn't guarantee that you'll find life there. Life could exist anywhere in the universe. Let's say we detected signs of life 1,000 light years away. With our current technology, reaching that location would take millions of years. We can't even guarantee that our own civilization will still exist a few thousand years from now. This is where science fiction immediately enters the conversation. People say, then let's travel at the speed of light. But if Einstein's theory of relativity is correct, no object with mass can reach the speed of light because doing so would require infinite energy. All right, maybe we don't need to reach the speed of light, but perhaps we can get close. Even that comes with enormous challenges. Accelerating a spacecraft to such extreme speeds requires unimaginable amounts of energy. As you add more fuel, the rocket becomes heavier. As the rocket gets heavier, it requires even more fuel. And that creates an endless cycle. Are there alternative technologies? Of course. Scientists are exploring ideas such as ion engines and solar sails, but these technologies may require centuries before becoming truly practical. Then there's the even crazier side of the discussion: wormholes, warp drives, bending space-time itself. These concepts sound exciting, but as of today, we have absolutely no evidence proving that any of them are actually possible. If humanity ever hopes to travel meaningful distances across the stars, we will probably need technologies far beyond anything we can currently imagine. But let's assume we somehow solve all of these technological problems. Another massive issue still remains: communication. In a universe where information cannot travel faster than light, communicating with a mission thousands of light years away becomes incredibly difficult. Imagine sending a simple hello to a civilization located 34,000 light years away. That message would take 34,000 years to arrive. Their reply would take another 34,000 years to get back to us. So interstellar communication itself is a huge challenge. That's why a realistic expansion into space would probably happen slowly, step by step. A civilization would spread gradually to nearby systems, establishing colonies and expanding over time. But beyond all of this, there's another fascinating question. Why do we assume aliens would even care about us? People often assume alien intelligence would think similarly to humans. But even here on Earth, there are vastly different forms of intelligence. Humans and chimpanzees share more than 98% of their DNA. Yet that tiny difference allowed us to build telescopes, discover physics, and create civilizations. Now imagine a species that is only 1% more advanced than we are. They would probably look at us the same way we look at chimpanzees. We don't care much about ant civilizations. We don't sit down with chimpanzees and discuss the universe. Our levels of intelligence are simply too different. If a civilization advanced enough to spread across the galaxy truly exists, their interest in humanity might be no greater than our interest in ants. So the question is not only do aliens exist, but also why would they come here at all? Of course, you can imagine alternatives. Maybe faster than light travel is possible. Maybe there are laws of physics we haven't discovered yet. Maybe there are civilizations with technologies so advanced they seem incomprehensible to us. All of that could be possible. But in science, what matters is not what is possible. It's what can be demonstrated with evidence. And today, we have no objective evidence showing that aliens have visited Earth. This is exactly where science becomes important. Science requires us to say, "We don't know yet," when evidence is absent. And this point is extremely important. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Yes, that's true. But people often forget the second part. Absence of evidence is also not evidence of existence. If you claim that alien civilizations are visiting Earth, the burden of proof is on you. The portion of space humanity has explored so far is tiny compared to the universe itself. That's why we cannot confidently say, there is no life out there. But we also cannot say, aliens definitely exist and are visiting us. What we need to do is not lose ourselves in fantasy, but continue developing better tools to understand the universe. Because if there truly is life somewhere out there, sooner or later, we will find it. Because reality has a habit of revealing itself eventually. See you in the next video. Goodbye.